Hi, my name is Matt Mlinac. I work here in Yahoo Travel. I want to share with you today an introduction to the ImageLoader utility, released just recently with the Yahoo YUI 2.3.0 release. What the ImageLoader library allows you to do, it says a developer defer the loading of some images on your page, giving you a faster page load time, while still allowing you to load these images before the user needs to see them. The problem space where ImageLoader gives you the most advantage is when your page has a lot of K-weight images, especially when a lot of those images are not visible to the user at the page initial paint. There are two fundamental reasons why the users wouldn't see images at initial page paint. The first and simpler is that they're just out of the viewport. I'll take you through a first example. This example is available on developer.yahoo.com. And in this case, images are out of the viewport just below the fold vertically on the page. You can see in this example that there are 3 images here above the page fold. And what you can't see is that there are 2 below the page fold, which ImageLoader has deferred the load of. In this example, what will expose those bottom 2 images to the user is any scroll of the page. So what ImageLoader is set up to do is to wait on the user event of a window scroll to fire off the loading of those bottom images. ImageLoader can also optionally take an arbitrary time limit, such as 10, 15 seconds, so if the user hasn't scrolled in that time, those images are loaded anyway. In this example, you can use the logger module on the right side to see exactly when images, the bottom 2 images, will load into the page. You'll see them denoted as image 4 and image 5. And here as we start to scroll, you can see image 4 and 5. And by the time we get to the bottom, to these bottom images, image 4 and image 5, they're already loaded into the page. So no degradation to user experience. The user isn't going to see any broken or blank images. But what we've done is save the loading of 2 images at page load. Let's move on to a second example, also available here at developer.yahoo.com. Now remember, earlier I said there were 2 reasons images wouldn't be visible to a user at the initial page paint. The second reason is simply that there's a module on the page hiding some of the content. For example, any tabbed module. In this case, we're going to use an example with the YUI tab view control, in which case behind tab 2 and tab 3, there are tabs with a pair of images on each. How we've attached the events here is that any mouse over of either tab will load the images for that tab. You can see in the logger out here that we haven't loaded any of those images just yet. Now we're also waiting. We know that the user, to expose tab 2, will have to first mouse over and then click that tab control. So what we've done is attach a mouse over of the tabs to fire those URLs, to fetch the images. So see, as we mouse over tab 2, we've seen image 2 and image 3 load. So by the time the user actually clicks the control, the images are already there. We have the same with the 2 images on tab 3. Let's step now to a real-world example where we've used this in travel. You'll see on this page images hidden both because they're below the fold and because they're behind modules requiring user interaction. Now first let's consider the weight of adding ImageLoader to your page. ImageLoader requires a little less than 20K on the wire. So if you can save roughly 30K or more in image weight, your better bet is most likely to include the ImageLoader on your page. Here in travel we saved a whole lot more than 30K, and you'll see it here. Let's step through where we've used it. Referencing back to the first example where we saw images below the fold, we have way down here below the fold in this module, we have a few user avatars. Now we're almost guaranteed that these are below the folded page load. So we've hidden them with the image loader, and those load only when the user scrolls. What we've also done, we have a user interactive module right here showing destinations, where we've used a series of triggers, predictive triggers to determine when the user is interested in the images hidden within this module. For example, once the user mouses over this destination image, what we do is load two images. We load this one under the Tips tab, this user avatar, and also one under the Weather tab, the weather image right here. We know the user can't expose those images until he first mouses over the image and then the respective tabs. So we're safe with that trigger. What we also have are a few more destination images down here when we scroll. So what we've done is attach triggers to the scroll controls down here so that the user, when they get near the controls, will load those images. They'll be loaded before the user actually scrolls over and sees those images. What I want to do now is return to the first example we went through, loading images below the fold. What I want to do is show you the source code behind the page so you can see what's involved in coding this up. Let's take a look at the source. First off, the HTML. What we've done is simply put divs images here as normal. What we've done is give each image tag an ID attribute so that we can reference it later in the JavaScript. We've withheld the source attribute so that the browser doesn't, in fact, go ahead and load the images. We've also left out, might put in for a best practice, is an alt tag on these images for accessibility. All right, let's take a look at the JavaScript. First thing we do is instantiate an image loader group. Here we've called the fold group. We've passed into the constructor is the trigger. Here we've attached the window scroll trigger, as we saw earlier. The next thing to do is register images with the group. Here we register images by DOM ID and URL for the image. See, these are the 5 images that we have on our page. The next thing we've done key here is declare this as a fold conditional group. What this tells the group to do is to, at page load, check to see which images are above the fold, load those immediately, defer those below the fold. What we've also done here is add an additional trigger, resize. This is because there is in fact one other way that the user can expose the images besides just a scroll. If he resizes the browser, he might make it larger, exposing some of the images. So we've attached that trigger here as well. And this last line, we've just named the group. This is solely for the purpose of viewing this in the Yahoo log output that we've seen in the example. It's not required on a normal page. And that's it. That's all it takes. So that's all for the tour of the image loader library. There's plenty more documentation, full documentation, 4 examples, and a cheat sheet at the YUI website. So please go ahead and check those out. If you feel like you have a site that might benefit with image loader, play around with this. As with every YUI component utility, we'd love to hear your feedback. So get in touch with us on the YUI developer forums and have fun image loading.